I mean, what can I say, bro? It's been a minute. It's been a cool minute. Now, it feels like it's been like a whole year, bro. But obviously, it hasn't. It's been like 2 weeks. And originally, it was only supposed to be one. So today's episode of the podcast is gonna be titled Burnout because that's what I just got out of, in a sense. That in combination with just taking a step back to look at like what I've created, like it was a weird time, but it was like super duper necessary, and I'm glad to be back and doing the show. But I'll get a little bit more into that in like the filler arc. But let's talk about some news. But before we do, I need you guys to say what's up. I need to say what's up. I need to be like, yo, hey. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Why I'm Geek show, man. This is episode 54. Episode 54 in the building. Y'all see it. Y'all see who's on the screen right now, other than me, myself, and ING. But y'all see the man Franklin. But I want to talk about some news, so let's get right into it. Alright, so that was a weird intro. I ain't gonna count. I'm a little rusty, bro. But it's all good. So for the news for this week, man, it's pretty much just like drops. So I haven't really been back into like the mix as far as like staying up to date with everything that's happening, because it's like after taking 2 weeks off, I kind of like detached from everything. I kind of just was just like, just going. You know what I'm saying? I was just like doing my thing. But today is Snowfall Day. You know what I'm saying? So Snowfall Season 5 has dropped. And I have started Snowfall, but I'm not caught up yet. So I'm thinking by like week 3, I'll be caught up to Season 5. I'm at the end of Season 1 right now. And I'm really liking the show already. But I ain't get to this part where my man is just, maxing, relaxing, suited and booted, you know what I'm saying? But I know this joint goes crazy. And then we also had some gaming news with the drought basically being over, bruh. So not only did Horizon drop, which we'll be playing after this podcast, but also Witch Queen for Destiny 2 dropped. So a whole lot of content is out there. And then with those two games dropping, Elden Ring drops, I think, this weekend. So there's a lot. If you're not like, me, in the sense of like you can only kind of play one like really huge game at one time, you got a lot on your plate, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Take care of yourself. Don't go too crazy. But I think that, these drops, man, is it has me hyped, because originally, like, part of this podcast was talking a lot about gaming, right? But gaming has kind of took a backseat role as far as the content we've been creating recently, right? Because of just like what I said, the drought, man. The drought was super mean. We had games that came out that everybody was super hyped for that didn't work. I won't necessarily say what those games are, but y'all know the ones. And some games that just didn't live up to expectation. So to see these two games drop, and then hopefully Elden Ring is a success too, that has me really hyped to see what else comes out for the new year, because these are the first few games that are really huge drops that are happening. But as far as like the rest of the news, that's pretty much it. I'll be more like in the know next week, but I just wanted to press the button, what I'm saying, get back on live, get back into the stream, and just really get back to the swing of things, man. So without further ado, let's jump into the weekly recap. And I know I said weekly recap, but it's been like 2 weeks, so I'm kind of going to like mix in some things that is kind of old, but it's still like fresh to y'all ears, coming from me, coming from your boy G, right? So first thing I want to talk about is Book of Boba Fett. The finale happened not too long ago, and I will say, bro, the Book of Boba Fett wasn't really the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, the only reason why I say that is because there were so many different cameos from other characters that had, whole episodes based on them, that including the Mandalorian, but also because this show was really short. Like, it was only like, it was less than 10 episodes. Now this is still only the first season, so I do think, granted, like, the title makes sense because it's like, this is a book. It's gonna have chapters. Like, it's not like The Mandalorian, right? Like, the Mandalorian, I'm expecting to see the Mandalorian every single episode, But with the Book of Boba Fett, the story can go in a lot of different directions. So it makes sense that, in some instances we might not get some Boba Fett cameos. But for like, there was like a stretch where he was like only on screen for like 2 minutes, bro, in like the span of 2 weeks. So like, that was kind of weird, but it was still one of those things where I did enjoy the show. I really loved the finale. And I think that, they did end up bringing a good antagonist into the scene, but they also killed him off within the first episode, 2 episodes he was in. So he wasn't even there that long, which is kind of a bummer because it always seems like they end up doing that when it comes to these shows and these movies. Like, they always kill off the antagonist, but who knows, man? Cad Bane might still be alive because he's survived plenty of crazy scenarios, especially in the Clone Wars. So, and he's just a really dope character. He's my favorite bounty hunter, bro. So I don't want him to be bodied, but if that's the case, that just might be what it has to be, bro. But another thing that I saw on the timeline that had to do with Book of Boba Fett was this picture of Boba Fett versus an old Mace Windu. Now, I know Mace Windu is like just the super mystery, like one of the greatest mysteries in Star Wars is if like Mace Windu is still alive, because yes, he got shocked off a building, yes, he got his arm cut off, but people have survived worse. He just fell from a building, bro. Like, we never even seen him hit the ground. We didn't see his body, so he could literally be in hiding just like Obi-Wan. And to see an image of him fighting Boba Fett, I was like, oh, this would be a dope season 2 like thing. Now, I don't necessarily know how we could connect the two in like a practical sense of like explaining where Mace Windu has been this whole time and why at this point he's gonna end up fighting Boba Fett, and how old is Mace Windu. Like, he would be really old, like, what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where I'm like, yo, like, this would be so dope, but I just don't know how practical it could really be, because like him know, like Boba Fett knowing that Mace Windu killed his dad, and it's just like, he never got that get back, there was moments in Clone Wars where there was like, oh, this could have, could have been a thing, but it never really happened. But that's one thing that I would be super, super geeked if that ever happened, even in season 2. The next thing I want to talk about in the weekly recap is Demon Slayer. So Demon Slayer also had their finale like a week ago, and I would say, bro, Demon Slayer is one of the most like satisfying but also like pretty animes that I've ever seen, bro. Like, just from an animation, and it's frustrating because for how good and how like ridiculous and amazing they make like the fight scenes, they always end up like wasting the episode explaining why the demon is the way that they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily feel like sympathy like Tanjiro. Like, that's one of my issues with him. But it was just one of those things like, dang, like, this is the finale. Like, the fight had already basically concluded, and we did learn a lot. We did see, some of the new demons that we're going to get introduced to in the next season. Well, really one. But we also saw Nezuko use her abilities to actually heal and negate poison from a demon. So that was really cool. And I'm just like, I'm in a constant state of frustration when it comes to Demon Slayer because they have so many cool characters, but they all end up getting bodied, bruh. And like bodied to the point where they really can't come back, you know? And it's just like, dang, now somebody's gonna have to replace them. Now, I get that, you know, this will make way for Tanjiro's ascension in like the Demon Slayer core ranks, but it's just like, dang, I wish my man didn't have to go out because of it, you know? The next thing I want to talk about, and I know I'm kind of flying through these because it's just a lot. It's a lot, man, that I missed. I missed 2 weeks, bro. 2 weeks. But the next thing I want to talk about is Attack on Titan. And not necessarily like what's going on in the episodes now. I kind of want to just talk about season 4, right? And how like I'm just let down. Like I'm kind of disappointed in the way that it's going because from what I done seen so far and what we still have left to go, I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, man. Like I feel like they wasted a lot of time in this last season because, you know, not only do we get introduced to a whole new cast initially with no like real warning, and we get their whole backstory, but now we're at a point where it's like, yo, we're at the peak of this joint, you know, we're at the peak of this anime, and the rumbling is something that we done heard about for so long, but we're nowhere near focused on it as much. Now I get that the rumbling itself from like a aesthetic standpoint or just like a like logistics standpoint, I don't know what the best way to describe it would be, but like, you know, you can only show the rumbling from so many angles before you get bored because it's literally just a slow walk to death. You know what I'm saying? Like they're literally like walking and destroying everything in their path, but it's a slow destruction. It's not very like pleasing to the eye, you know. And whereas I thought the rumbling would, you know, be something super duper epic, where the initial like the initial moment the rumbling started, it was amazing, right? I was super hyped to finally figure out what Aaron's true intentions were, and to hear that he had, you know, all his new abilities, and just to see it. But I don't know, I can't help but feel like, dang, like I kind of want to just get to the point and get it over with because we've waited so long for this moment. Now there's still time for this joint to turn up, but as far as like a last like big battle, I don't know, because Aaron's looking real final right now. Like I don't know how you can even stop it. It's just like at this point it's like a point of like no return, you know, and they done passed it. So I don't know, but that's just how I'm feeling about part 2 and just like part 2s in general, right? Like this show was the first one that had a part 2 that really like irritated me, you know. And the second one was with Ozark, right? Now Ozark released the part 1 of their recent season, and I don't know if it's because of COVID or like why they split it up. I'm just not a fan of splitting up the seasons. Like if you're gonna split it up, just make it a 5th season. Like that's just how I feel. Like, and cut it off at like a decent point. And I feel like Attack on Titan did a better job at like a cutoff point, but it's just the way that it was presented to us as this is the final season, and it was just like, okay, this is it, and then it ended, and I was like, wait, what? Now this can't be the last episode, and I was just hot, right? But with Ozark, it was like one of those things where they show us something crazy happening in the beginning of the show, and you expect by the end of the show you'll get the answer or you'll resolve whatever issue that was, but they stopped it just short of that. And I was just like, bro, why would y'all do it? Like, we needed one more episode, and then we could, then you could just go do your part 2 or whatever like that. But I don't know. I maybe that's just me being nitpicky when it comes to these shows and things like that. But it's just where I'm at with it. I don't know. I'm curious to how y'all feel about these part 2s. Now, since we done talked about these shows, man, let's get into these movies. Uncharted dropped last weekend, and I haven't done my review for it just yet, but I will do one. I just wanted to kind of wait, honestly, because I realized with myself and like my biases, because when it comes to things like Uncharted, games that I love, games that changed me. I don't know a better way to explain it. Like, the Uncharted series is my favorite series of all time on PlayStation, right? So I'm already like super geeked to do that, and then you bring like Tom Holland into the mix, right? And that's like, he just performed amazing in Spider-Man, and he's like just like a big name, right? And you got Mark Wahlberg, y'all know who I'm talking about. Shooter, Shooter's one of my favorite movies. And then you got Ted and stuff like that, but like you add him into the mix, and it's like, okay, I can see the chemistry that can happen between him and Tom, and they could be a good Nate and Sully. But it's just like, I done spent so much time. I've played them games so many times, like back and forth, like any game, like no other game that I've ever played. Like I played the most out of Uncharted probably, other than probably Destiny, but like going over old content I've already played. I'm not the type of gamer that you would usually, play games more than once, like, because I feel like I've already experienced. I'm getting more into that a little bit now, but in the past I've never really been like that. So you could see going into this movie, I'm having high expectations, right? And initially when I left the theater, right, I was geeked, bruh, because it was one of those things where I'm like, they just opened a whole new world. Because Uncharted, right, it's based on the game, obviously, but they set it up in a way where, they can tell new stories eventually, right? And there's still some things that have remained canon throughout, what I'm saying, like Nate's brother and his situation, and like just the nature of Nate's relationship with all of these antagonists and protagonists that go in and out of his life, and just the period in time that the movie starts, right? Like initially it starts with Nate and Sam being kids, and then the main portion of the movie is like, he's probably like 22 maybe, what I'm saying? So it's still young Nate, but we're gonna get to see them grow, and it's one of those things where it's like, for an introductory movie, if I never played the games, it would be like, it'll probably be like nothing really to write home about. Yo, what's good, y'all? I am pausing this video to let you guys know that we officially have a Patreon. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck is a Patreon? Well, let me lay it out for you. Basically, our Patreon is called the Genatoverse. And in the Genatoverse, you have the opportunity to not only get early content, but also get exclusive Patreon only videos where we're discussing your favorite fandoms and also having dope conversations, bringing all of our communities across the whole metaverse, right? Because that's a thing now, and dropping it all in one place. Now there are 4 different tiers that you can join. I don't care which one you choose, just know that your support is greatly appreciated. So tap in with us, Patreon/Genato, and let's get back to the video. But yeah, like if I never played the games and I wasn't like so into it, like when we got the Easter egg for the voice actor for Nate, I was in my chair like just mind blown. I was like, bro, that's him. I never knew what he looked like until that point. I was like, bro, that's so weird hearing his voice, and then like him interacting with Nate and Chloe. I was just like, bro, that's crazy. But I don't know. I won't say that like I didn't enjoy the movie because I obviously did, but it definitely could have been better. I think my biggest issue with Uncharted it was the fact that it was PG-13 when a lot of the acts that were going on should not have been PG-13. It just looked a little corny at some point in time. Like now, don't get me wrong, like the feats that happened, within this joint was amazing. Like my favorite was probably the plane. But from an overall like aesthetic standpoint, like it didn't necessarily hit the mark. I don't know. I don't know a better way to describe it. I wasn't blown away, watching this movie. So I don't know. It was just one of those things. But I think the sequel that's gonna come out next. Oh, that joint's definitely finna go crazy. That's definitely finna go crazy. And the last thing I wanted to talk about in the weekly recap was Doctor Strange. So, I dropped my reaction to the trailer, today, and the biggest thing that I took away from this was, obviously hearing, Professor X in the background, or not necessarily in the background, but we couldn't see him, when it looked like, Doctor Strange was getting taken to this high council thing, right? But for me, it's not so much Doctor Strange's relationship with Professor X. It's going to be Wanda's relationship, because it's like, when are we going to get that, like, okay, mutants is a thing? Like, I'm waiting for that moment in Marvel. Now, I don't necessarily think that it'll happen in this movie per se, but because we're dealing with different dimensions and different, universes, we're going to have to see some level of that, right? And then we also saw Mrs. Marvel in this joint, which I forgot initially when I was like, not necessarily when I was watching it, but initially like when I went to go look at the trailer, like that she was going to be in it. And there's a lot of different cameos within this movie. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm really interested in seeing like that dynamic between Wanda Maximoff and anybody that has to do with mutants. Like, that's where my brain is at. Not so much, Doctor Strange, because it's just like, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. Like I understand pretty much like what the goal is this time, but I'm also interested in seeing, the dynamic between Wanda and Doctor Strange because of what they said in the actual trailer, which is one thing that I'm kind of nervous about, because it feels like that's the only moment that we're going to actually get that addresses the whole like, I bend the rules of reality, and speaking as Wanda, I do this and I'm the bad guy, right? And then Doctor Strange does this, but you have a net good. Like, where's the line, And I'm really interested in seeing that dynamic, because I'm more interested in seeing Wanda's progression and how she's still dealing with grief, but at the same time finding her way. Like, I'm really interested in seeing that. But I think that Doctor Strange is going to be really, really cool. And then we also got Batman on the way as well. So a lot of dope movies coming out soon, and we're going to also have like some guest appearances on the podcast. So definitely be tuned in for that, because I want to get to the point where like, not every episode will have a guest, but we'll have like, maybe 2 in a month based on like, what's going on and who wants to talk about what. So I think that'll be really cool. I don't know necessarily if all these will happen live on stream, but definitely be expecting some collabs happening this year. But that's pretty much it for the weekly recap, man. Let's get into the filler arc. Alright, y'all. So I bet y'all like we're at the filler arc, right? We're at this point in the podcast where we just talk about whatever, kind of like what's going on. So I kind of want to explain the whole burnout situation, right? And it was something that I've like experienced before, but not with things that I like really really like to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, I don't know. Well, I think the first time I really experienced burnout was like when I stopped hooping for the first time, like when I went to school. Like, but I never really lost a love for hooping. I just was just like I just wasn't hooping anymore. Like it was a thing that I did, but I just wasn't. It wasn't an everyday thing from that point on. But after that, I've experienced going through school like burnout, especially during like when I was in my master program and stuff like that. Like that's a huge thing. But the way that I would handle that was by streaming or by playing a game or creating videos. Like it was like that type of thing, right? But I never thought it would happen with creating content. Like I didn't think I could ever get tired of it. So that was like a new thing for me, right? But it's it stemmed from like me looking back and seeing how many videos I have made, and just like because I wanted to fix my algorithm, so I like probably did a whole lot of videos, and it was just like I went from this huge number to this small number of videos. It's not super small, but it just like it affected me, and I didn't expect it to do that. And then we also hit like a milestone with the podcast, with it hitting 52 episodes, which is a year's worth of episodes, like once a week for a whole year. No misses type beat. Like that was huge, and I was just like, dang, like, and I knew like once I did that, I should have took a break, but I started the new channel like right after that, or on the 52nd episode. I was like, dang, I don't want to just leave this one video here and it just stopped right here, like I just wanted to get ahead of it. So I kept going, and like it just like a combination of those things was just like, yo, like you need to sit down for a second. So that's what I did for the last few weeks. I locked in on Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones was the thing that interested me the most out of anything I was watching. I started Snowfall, but I never really finished it. I'm not even close to finish on Game of Thrones. I'm on season 5, but there's 8 seasons left, so I got like probably like 20 something episodes left in the whole series. But I'm not trying to rush that process. That's just something like I watch in my spare time, because I don't think y'all really care about Game of Thrones like that anymore. It's an old show now at this point, but I never seen it, so I just wanted to do that. I was thinking about maybe making a video just talking about like my experience of watching and like what I really think about the show, but there's so much like that goes into it, and so much that has happened. I don't think I could fit it all in one video, and I would have wanted to like start with season 1 and give my opinion, start season 2, give my opinion, what I'm saying, rather than trying to fit it all in one video at the end. Like I'll still probably like give my take on it like when I finish the whole show, but it won't be nothing too crazy, what I'm saying. But the initial like thing was like, as far as like burnout, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just take a week off, right, and I'm gonna get back to it. But then I was just like, man, I was looking at it and I was like, dang, I don't really want to come back right now, because I'd rather kind of just wait, because I didn't feel like playing Ghost of Tsushima anymore, right? Because like I knew I wasn't gonna do my show like we're doing now, like we're doing talk, and then we would go into a game, and I didn't know. I was like, I don't really want to play Ghost right now. I want a new experience. So I was like, man, I'm gonna just wait till like these new games drop, right? So Horizon dropped, and then Destiny dropped. So I'm gonna play Horizon first, and then we're gonna get into Destiny next week. And by that time, what I'm saying, like, I won't say that the gaming drought will just be over, but we're gonna have a lot of content to continue to progress on. And then we still got games that I'm playing on the side as well, like 2K. Like I'm still grinding to 99, like 95 right now on 2K. About to get a new shoe contract, and that's just something like as far as like a gameplay loop or a stream loop, like of things like I want to do on stream, and like trying to make it so it's just becomes part of my lifestyle in a sense, you know, instead of like, all right, I gotta go turn the stream on, because I like streaming, but hitting that start stream button is like the hardest thing to do, because like when you're like me, I'm a perfectionist, so I like to have stuff like completely right, and sometimes it takes a minute, like I might forget something and I'm like, dang, I wanted to add this to it. So it's just like now I'm like, the pressure is off, bro, like when it comes to streaming. Like yes, I want to stream very consistently, but I'm not gonna like strain myself mentally to do that, you know. Like when I want to put the most brain power to is my videos, but I want the stream to be like a well-oiled machine. So like, not to say like it's gonna get boring because they're gonna be doing the same thing, but essentially it's just like, yo, I want to come and hang out with y'all, you know, and talk with y'all. So like that's where I'm at with it. But like I said, you know, Destiny's back. I'm gonna be bringing like switching up some of the content in the sense of like graphically what y'all see, from like the reviews to the comparisons and polls, and we got the Patreon up, and I'm working on that as well. So like I know like I said, like you know, I got burnt out doing the same thing, but it's more so like, yo, like I'm trying to work smarter now and also elevate the stuff that I'm doing. So I'm not even trying, that's what I am doing. Like I'm tired of just saying I'm trying to do this or trying to do that. I'ma just do things now, you know, like that's the mentality I'm going with it. So that's pretty much it for this episode, man. That's all I really got. I hope y'all enjoyed. We'll be back again next week, and the new day to film these are going to be Wednesdays, because that's when Marvel drops, so like or Disney drops, and we'll go through it like that, and then the episodes will drop on Thursday. So appreciate y'all, man. Once again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, rate the podcast 5 stars if you really enjoy, leave a comment, and I'm gonna holler at y'all in the next one, man. Y'all be easy, you know the vibes. Always keep going, so you going to be boy G. I'm gone. Peace.